Usually, when a young quarterback fails, that spells the end for a general manager and usually a head coach for an organization. That's kind of the prevalent logic, and it's understandable. As a head coach and general manager, your fate is ultimately tied to your quarterback, in particular, if you draft a quarterback high, especially in the first round. That franchise quarterback doesn't become a franchise quarterback, then they made a bad decision, they didn't surround him with enough help, whatever the case might be, and there needs to be a house cleaning. But for some reason, even though Mark Sanchez ultimately failed for the New York Jets, for reasons both of his own doing and not of his own doing, there are many people, many people, New York Jets fans, the Jets team media, the national NFL media, the organization, the players, so many involved, for some reason believed wholeheartedly that Rex Ryan had done enough in 2013 to deserve the right to be the head coach of the New York Jets again in 2014. The logic was lost on me then, and it most certainly is now. I'm not one to sit here and say, I told you so. Yes, I am. I fucking told you so. I tried to warn you that this was ridiculous, that your logic was stupid, and it would blow up in your face. Well, clearly, after 5 weeks of the 2014 NFL season, many of you can now finally admit that your organization, the New York Jets, is stupid. And you can admit that I was right and that many of you were wrong about this. The time has come to fire Rex Ryan. Frankly, the time to fire him was after the 2013 season, because by retaining him another year, you were basically tying a new general manager to a failed head coach from a previous regime. You were also rewarding mediocrity. 3 straight seasons with no playoff appearances and no real credible reason, in my opinion, to believe that 2014 would be any different heading into 2014. And you look at 2014 so far, and you see that this is clearly the case. The Jets are 1-4. 1-4. They found many different ways to jet it up, many different ways to screw it up. But the bottom line is they're 1-4. 4 straight losses. Their only victory this year came in week 1 against perhaps the worst team in the National Football League, the Oakland Raiders. And even in that game, the Jets had to squeak it out and won it by 5 freaking points. They beat the worst team in the league, arguably, by 5 points. And they proceeded to go on to lose 4 straight games. This is a team that has this kind of defense-first mentality, this defense-first philosophy under head coach Rex Ryan, yet their defense through 5 games is 21st in the league in points allowed. You can give me all that skip-to-baloo crap about the strength of schedule that they've had, but the bottom line is the amount of investment that they've put into that position, both in terms of free agent money and especially draft picks, and the fact that they're supposed to have some type of defensive guru as a head coach in Rex Ryan. The fact alone that this defense is 21st in the league in points allowed through 5 games. The fact that in 2 games this year they have given up over 30 points clearly indicates to me that the message of Rex Ryan has been lost. He's not that good, and his time has come, and it has clearly gone, and it is time to send his happy ass packing. This is supposed to be a defense that plays in an elite level, not at a lower tier level, which is clearly what they're doing. And we haven't even gotten to the offensive end. 32nd in the league. Dead butt naked last in passing yards. 27th in total yards. 30th. Third from last in points scored. So they're giving up a shit ton of points, and they consistently can't score points on anybody. And yet people advocated that Rex Ryan be retained for 2014. Well, now I think after 5 games, you could clearly see the folly of your ways, see how stupid that was, and clearly see that the time has come to fire Rex Ryan. If I'm the general manager, John Idzik, who needs to be worried about his own job security because of his incompetence, and especially if I'm the owner and I see the crap that's going on, this is year 6, how much more do I need to see of this crap? After Sunday's game against the Chargers, where they lose 31-0, he benches Geno Smith at halftime because clearly it's his own fault, even though the defense was getting torched and the offense has very little help around a Geno Smith. What type of quarterback is going to succeed with Jeremy Curley, Greg Salas, and David Nelson as his top options in the fucking passing game? Rex Ryan decides to shake things up and bring in dog killer Michael Vick after halftime. So that way, like so many dumb coaches do, they panic and do the wrong thing and potentially risk ruining any shot that their young quarterback has to develop and figure things out on his own. They show a lack of patience, a lack of understanding, and a lack of football intelligence, as a lot of these head coaches seem to do. And he benches Geno Smith. And then it's not until late into the fourth quarter before the Jets offense even crosses freaking midfield. After the game, Rex Ryan says, I got my ass kicked. I was clearly outcoached. Okay, if I'm the owner or general manager, I retain this guy for a reason. I still can't understand. He's telling me that he got his ass kicked. My team is now 1-4, and I see no real signs for hope. No real signs that this thing is going to get better. Why in the hell am I paying this asshat to still be the head coach of my football team? At some point in time, you would think it would have to be addition by subtraction. If you got to pay him the rest of the year just to get him out of there and fire him, then that's what you do. You fire his ass. Because Rex Ryan is so much of what is wrong with the New York Jets organization. He has been a large contributing factor to the reasons the Jets suck so bad and mightily today. And part of the reason you see this is played out through the NFL draft. Now, people will say, well, he's not the general manager. No, he's not. But now as a head coach that's been there for 6 years, you can't tell me that he doesn't have a lot of personnel say. Furthermore, based off of the way the organization has prioritized their off seasons in recent years, in particular the draft, you can clearly see the Rex Ryan philosophy at play here, and you can clearly see how it has impacted every level of the organization, and not in a good way. Over the past 5 freaking drafts, 2010 to 2014, all the while knowing their offense was terrible. All the while knowing that at first they had Mark Sanchez as a young quarterback that desperately needed help around him, and now Geno Smith. His team has had a total of 6 first-round picks. 6 of these motherfuckers. 6 first-round picks. And they chose the best way in their minds to help a Mark Sanchez first and then a Geno Smith later was to surround him with a bunch of defensive players. Those 6 first-round picks, every single one of them was invested on the defensive side of the football. This year's draft, you took a safety in Calvin Pryor. What in the bluest of blue fucks are you doing? If you still haven't gotten it done on defense, if you still haven't figured it out on defense, if you still can't have an elite-level defense with all the draft pick investment that you've spent, then maybe that's a clear indication you don't know what the fuck you're doing, you're in over your head, and it is time for you to go. People tried to argue for it because they liked Pryor the prospect. That's besides the point. It was a representation of the stupidity of the general managers, whether it's Tannenbaum from before or Itzik now, and Rex Ryan, the one constant thread through all of this as head coach, and their draft philosophy. 6 first-round picks, 6 defensive players. In fact, the last 4 drafts from 2011 until this year, they have invested 2 of their first 3 picks in every draft on the defensive side of the ball. And yet, in 2014, people are still talking about their secondary is trash because it is fucking trash. They're talking about the fact that they lack outside pass rush on a consistent basis, and they need to address that. They've invested all types of picks in all of these different areas. And if it still sucks, then maybe you need to stop looking at the players and you need to start looking at the people that bring those players in, those people that can't get more out of those players, that people that can't properly evaluate talent, and that's where Rex Ryan's fault is. 5 years, 6 first-round picks, not a single one on offense, 4 straight years of 2 of your first 3 picks on the defensive side of the ball. It's one thing to make the mistake with Mark Sanchez and consistently draft defensive players. But then you bring in Geno Smith, and you do the same goddamn thing again. The true measure of stupidity is seeing a bad result, then doing the exact same thing to deliver you the exact same bad result, expecting it to be a different result, then doing it again, all the while the results are the same bad results, and you think that they should be better. You're repeating your cycle of stupidity here. You decided the best way to help out Geno Smith was bring in a somewhat washed-up Chris Johnson, another team's number 2 wide receiver in Eric Decker, and pay him as a number 1. You decided that in the draft, the best way to help out your young quarterback was to sit there and draft a safety and then a corner in the 3rd round in Dexter McDougal, who is now out for the year and was a big-time reach in the third round to begin with. You decided the best way to help out Geno Smith was to reach on a pair of receivers in the fourth round, one in Shaq Evans and the first one in Jalen Saunders, and neither one of them, I believe, is even on the active roster. In fact, Jalen Saunders got cut. When you have to cut a fourth rounder as a rookie, that's not good. The Jets are 1-4. Their offense sucks. All of this investment, Kyle Wilson, Muhammad Wilkerson, Quentin Coples, Dean Milner, Sheldon Richardson, Calvin Pryor, that they've put into the defensive side of the ball. And those are just the first round picks. Those aren't the other picks in like rounds 2, 3, and 4. And this defense is still 21st in the league in points allowed. You give any other credible half its weight in gold worth organization that much investment on the defensive side of the ball with draft picks, I guarantee you've got at least a top 5 NFL defense, if not clearly the runaway best defense in all of the damn league. But of course we're talking about the Jets here, and of course we're talking about Rex Ryan. So only the Jets and Rex Ryan could figure out a way to screw up not one, but 2 young fucking quarterbacks in Sanchez and Geno Smith. You people can say what you want about whether or not you think they could be franchise quarterbacks or not. But Jesus Christ, I tell you this much. You put a lot of other young quarterbacks in these situations, and you see how bad they look, and you see how badly they ultimately end up freaking failing. When you take a young quarterback high, you build your organization around the quarterback. Good organizations do this. The New York Jets build their defense around their idiotic defensive-minded head coach. And all the while, his defense doesn't even perform at a high level. All the while, the Jets are clearly trending towards a 4th straight year without the playoffs. And coming off of a 31-0 loss against the San Diego Chargers, where the guy is sitting there and saying he's in over his head and flat out got his ass kicked and got out coached. There are no longer any redeeming qualities for this asshat to remain as the head coach of the New York Jets. The time has come. Fire Rex Ryan.